We had, prior to COVID, we owned two summer camps in my archdiocese, Our Lady Victory Camp and Camp Encounter, and
Hmm.
they had been sort of closed for a review and a revitalization in 2019 with a plan to sort of reopen them in the summer of 2020. Well,
And then something happened in
something happened that
yeah.
we shall not name, but yeah, basically those plans got scuttled, and
Mm.
and the camps sat for 2019, they sat for 2020, they sat for 2021. And I reached out to some priests that I know and said, what do we need to do to make sure that they don't sit for 2022? So
Mhm.
it was funny because, well, the Pope was getting ready to, or the day the Pope landed in Edmonton in the summer of 2022, we were opening our first week of provisional summer camps. Our sites, because they'd sat for so long, weren't usable, so we rented the camp from the Eparchy in Edmonton and ran
Mhm.
3 weeks of summer camps, trying to kickstart the program. And that meant that almost my entire 2023 has been dedicated to getting our camp ministry established again. So
Mhm.
uh, sadly, we had to close Camp Encounter permanently and put a ton of all of our eggs into the other Our Lady Victory Camp basket.
Mhm.
But while everybody else was going to World Youth Day, I was pulling the strings behind the scenes and directing our archdiocesan summer camp.
Mhm.
Um,
So did it officially launch this past summer, or is it 2024 that we're gonna
no,
see
we
the
we
inaugural
reopened.
summer?
Archbishop Smith came out and had an opening mass and blessed the camp on the 8th of July, and we had 280 kids go through camp this summer over
That's
4 weeks.
amazing.
Uh, Basically, we were sold out, but actually both summers we were basically sold out. Uh, we ran at capacity, and it's like I said, this was such a big piece of my, I look back, again, where did I
Mhm.
go? I went from youth group, I went to camp, I went to Bible school, I went back to camp. Uh, this was kind of the forming ground where I got my first chances to give talks, where I got my, playing guitar every night around the campfire every summer. That's, where I got confidence for guitar and things like that. So
Mhm.
wanted to have that place not only for other young adult leaders to grow in their ministry skills, but also I've got 3 kids that are camp aged right now, and they all went to camp for a week or two this summer, and was
Okay.
a real boon to their faith, which when camp ministry I think is done well does that. It
Mhm.
edifies what they're hearing in their youth groups or what they're hearing in their families, because you're meeting other kids again who are working in that same direction, which in
Mhm.
some of the smaller farming communities in Alberta might be a little bit harder to find if you're the only family with young people in it,
Mhm. Yeah,
or
yeah.
you're the only one in your school.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really interesting. That's awesome that you're that's awesome that your children were able to come to camp and also kind of see you in action. Like I'm I'm going to be married at the beginning of 2024, and obviously we're hoping for children, and if we're blessed with that, I'm I guess I have to pick your brain on how you've been able to keep your children engaged, and also, what that must be like for them to see their dad leading the youth, because we all kind of look back at maybe our pops and it's like, he's not cool, he's not cool. But then you see one's father in like the context of their life, and you're just like, oh, wow, this guy's pretty cool. He does awesome stuff. How I know that's a lot of questions all in one, but what if you could give me your thoughts on that?
Well, my kids have grown up with me working in ministry. I mean,
Mm.
they they in some ways have been, the Catholic equivalent of a pastor's kid. If you went to different other denominations, where
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is just part of what you live, part of what life is like. When I was younger and worked in the parish, we would have, a gathering right around Christmas time with my youth leaders. We'd have, different groups of people that would just be around. Their first babysitters were all people who came through my youth group. Uh, Things like that. So they've kind of breathed it. Now that they're
Mm.
in the schools, they're actually 4 of my 5 are in classes that I visit on a regular basis. So
Okay.
this is, they see, they have no choice but to see me in action at times. But I think for us, what's been really important for keeping our kids tied to the faith has been obviously family prayer. And my
Mm.
wife is, she's very much the heartbeat of that. I think like a lot of homes, that's the heart. She's the heartbeat. She doesn't forget. I could be caught up in trying to finish this or that or the other thing. I'm like, I just need 15 more minutes to write this thing or to answer this thing. Or, like, no, we need to pray and we need to pray with the kids now. And she'll send the
Mm.
kids. She'll send the kids to come get me because I'm not saying no to them for prayer. Obviously, we go to mass as a family
Mm.
as much as possible. If I happen to be away, they know I'm going to mass.
Mm.
Advice we heard years ago was I'm around priests all the time, so I don't need to go to confession when the kids go to confession because I can get to confession. I just I work with priests on a
Yeah.
regular basis. If I need
Yeah.
I grab them, I go to confession. But someone suggested it was really important that your kid looks up and sees you in line with them to go to confession. Now, with 5 kids and 2 of us, 7 of us going to confession, we often just book a family confession time rather than going and standing in line because we could dwarf the whole hour of confession on a Saturday afternoon pretty quickly with 7 of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, we'll all go and we'll all sit together, and you just kind of everybody's going in and out. They know dad's in line with them. So seeing that these are kind of normal, expected things, that's one part.
Hmm.
The community that we bring around us. I mean, most of my closest friends are people that I've worked with or done ministry with, or way back when went to youth group with. So they're people, our family friends are generally people that they see around the church too, whether it's at a church retreat, a family conference, at camp. It was funny how many of us parents were all dropping, who are people I went to youth group with, we're all dropping our kids off for camp at the same time this summer. And,
Yeah.
that was a kind of a good, hey, here we go, next generation. And my daughter, she's going to graduate this year. She'll be a team member, and she'll be, the generations that go back and forth with this.
That's beautiful.
So, it's the little things. It's the little
Mm-hmm.
things. The fact that I think the kids know this is just part of life as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
Our kids are all avid readers, and I actually credit a lot of that to the fact that my older 2 were kind of coming of age to start reading while I was working on my master's. So if I'm home, I'm generally, I had 80 or 100 pages to read every day. So
Mm-hmm.
what did they see me doing in the afternoons and the evenings? They didn't see me, watching hockey or football. They didn't see me, sitting trying to watch stuff on YouTube. They saw me reading. I was reading theology. They were reading, you know, Sandra Boynton, but
Yeah.
it was reading nonetheless. And it's kind of interesting how that has become just part of the culture of our family. All of my kids read. My 7-year-old figured out how to read in the last year, and they'll read for 45 minutes, an hour before they go to bed. Some of them would read right until midnight if we let them.
Oh wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
But because it was part of the culture of what they grew up in,
Yeah.
it's part of what they do.
Hmm.
And so that's, I think, when it comes to faith, that's part of what we've tried to instill in our home and in our family. And then when these opportunities come up, there's lots of times, I'm tired, I've been doing ministry all day, or I've been out doing this or the other thing, and like we have to take them out to stuff. We can't just insulate them and just keep them at home. They need to see that faith is not just something that happens in the walls of our house or in the sanctuary of our church, but being in groups of other people who are living this and loving this.